So in a previous video, you mentioned setting up scored events for the Scott Coffee race.
Yeah.
What is a scored event?
Yeah, so in RaceDay Scoring, we have scored events and registration events. So the reason we have two different concepts is that sometimes registration coordinators set things up a certain way because they need to do it for pricing purposes or club discount purposes or age pricing purposes. But to the timer, they don't really care. They're all running together. They're all doing a 5K. They all want to be in one report. So a lot of times what they'll need to do is group together all of those registrations into one report. So in RaceDay Scoring, this scored events area is where you say, I'm going to set up a 5K race and it starts at 9 a.m. and I'm going to include participants in all of these different registration events within this scored event. So let's say I had two registration events, one called 5K, one called Challenge, but they both are actually running the 5K. So I could just set up a single scored event instead of setting up two separate ones and include both of them. So I could just say, this is my 5K run. It's going to be a 5-kilometer race, and I'm going to include participants from both the 5K and the challenge. So this will tell me here, I've got participants in both of these events in this one scored event.
Now, this is kind of looking similar to something we have in RunSignup, which is super events.
Yeah, it's actually really similar. So this is can be confusing to some people because sometimes they already have super and sub events enabled on RunSignup, then it's already doing the same thing, kind of. So let's say you had super and sub events set up in a race in RaceDay Scoring that you imported from RunSignup. You'd see something a little bit different. You'd see this banner show at the top here that says super sub event grouping. So this is telling you that this race already has super and sub events set up. So it tells you a bit about it, and in this little panel, it gives you a link to view these settings at RunSignup. And it tells you information. It says, hey, for the 5K, that registration event's going to always include participants in the RRCA 5K event. And it's going to tell you for the RRCA 5K, these participants are going to be included in the 5K. So in this case, if I were to do the same thing that we did before, say 5K, and I include the 5K and the RRCA 5K, what's going to happen is that I'm going to get duplicated participants because I'm going to get the participant data in the 5K that includes the RRCA 5K and then the RRCA 5K again. So if I were to go into my reports, and I'm not sure if this one will show or not, I'm going to edit my report so I can preview who would be in there if they were a finisher by showing non-starters and non-finishers and participants without a bin number, just so I can take a look and see. So I'm going to see here Aaron Snowden and Aaron Snowden again. So this is telling me that I have an issue with my events because I've got duplicates of people in here, which is not really what I want. So it's going to tell me right here, when I hover over this, if I check this box, it's also going to include the people in the RRCA 5K. So I really don't need this checked because RunSignup is doing that work for me. So if I just uncheck that RRCA 5K, and I can go back to my report, and I'll just see the single instance of each person.
Now, is there any advantage to doing the grouping in RaceDay Scoring versus doing the super and sub events in RunSignup?
Well, it depends. If a race on RunSignup hasn't set up super and sub events, it's probably easier to just combine things together in RaceDay Scoring. You don't have to go back up to RunSignup, change a setting, come back down, make sure the settings are synced over. You just have to check the box. But there are some things that are really nice about super and sub events. Specifically, if you're doing a bundle, a challenge event where, let's say, you've got a 5K and a 10K, and there's a special category that's a bundle where you want to produce results for who did the fastest 5K plus 10K. If you do that kind of setup, that's something where you really would need to have a bundle event set up, and you would have to use this super sub event settings on RunSignup so that the people in the bundle can be scored in the bundle as well as in the individual 5K and 10K. Whereas if I were to set up in RaceDay Scoring, you can't select the same event, registration event, I should say, in multiple scored events. So you see here, I check this box, it unchecks that box. So if I had a bundle let's say the RRCA was my bundle, I couldn't say, okay, put the bundle people in the 5K and the 10K. It only allows me to pick one here. So that's when you'd really want to use the super and sub events setup on RunSignup.